Whatever you want to do.
Are you guys hot now? Should I just turn the window? Yeah. Is it possible to meditate with your eyes open?
Bryn, you also shut the door and then we'll begin. Okay, can I have attention? Bryn, if you can just shut the door also.
Yeah.
Okay. Is it on? Okay. I can see why I had dialectic discussion, because there's such a short amount of time to explain such a deep subject. And now there's a real challenge because I only have an hour left. But this will really test my understanding of the subject. There was an author called Pasquale, and he wrote someone, he said, "I'm sorry my letter was so long, but I didn't have time to write it." And then I know at the end of the class, you're all anxious to go out, so I'm going to do some advertisement now. One is, last 3.5 years, I write one short article on a spiritual topic which people feel is very accessible. I write one every week, and it's called Monday Morning Greetings. It means at 7 o'clock when you begin your week, it'll be there. So I'm going to pass this around. If anyone would like to be on that, you don't have to sign it. You can just give it to the next person. I'm not looking who signs, who doesn't. You'll get an article, and then also an announcement of retreats. And at the end, if you want, we have a retreat. I think it's almost 8 or 10 years. I started with Bryn and Raghunath, and it's called Bhakti Immersion, and it's in an idyllic place, and we try to make it very, very reasonable. And it's myself, Raghunath, Kastuba, Bryn, and some other people you don't know, but are really substantial. It's a very beautiful place. So if you want the information at the end, you can pick up one of these. And yeah, a lot of nice kirtan, kastuba, different people discussing things, practical things, etc. So if this can be passed around, if anybody wants. So let me try to do something. Let me try to really sum up Bhakti in a very short time, and also leave time for more discussions. So, okay, here's the object, right? I'm explaining that in Bhakti, and you mentioned about not every mantra is a name of God. That's one thing I would clear up. And also there's different manifestations of God. Like when you chant Om, it's called pranava. Na means not, va means this, pra means prakriti. So it's basically not, describing a particular manifestation of God particularly. It's a very general thing, spiritual. Pranava, it's not of matter, it's spiritual. So there are different mantras also representing different manifestations of the divine. Bryn, I think we should have some. You think we should have some meditation? We have time?
Yeah.
I think that's good too. I can lead some bhakti meditation and show you how you chant mantras. So basically, let me explain it very briefly. just one thing I can just show you why this emotional and natural connection is so very powerful. And I'll just give you one kind of meditation. You can close your eyes. I'm going to take you to India, okay? All right? And you're going to go in the Himalayas, and there's a famous meditational teacher, right? And you come there, and he's in like a white robe, and has a gray beard, and he's very kind eyes, and he's so humble, he picks up your suitcase, and he takes you to this little cottage. Maybe it's like a clubhouse, mud and things, and bed. And then you hear the door lock behind you. And then you look around, and you see the room is kind of, there's like a clothesline across, that's the closet. You can see there's some clothes. You look under the bed, and there's little, maybe some medicines and a box of sweets. And it's kind of a typical Indian little simple thing. And then you say, okay, he gave me that instruction. You sit on the bed, you sit up straight, you open up the paper, and the first instruction is, there's a deadly cobra in the room, don't think of it. Okay, you're supposed to laugh now, because actually speaking, all you're thinking about is cobra, 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 cobra. So what is it? The connection was fear. So because you had the connection of fear, there was a deep absorption in the object. So in Bhakti, you can open your eyes now. You're all so advanced already. You're just, I don't know what Kastuba and Professor Brian taught you. You've already transcendently attached to the body. The body, I can't. It's amazing. Because usually people start laughing, but you're going, no, I'm not going to think I don't know how advanced. You actually told me that this would be a very advanced group, so I can see that. But generally people laugh because they understand that's all they can think about. So the idea is that there's a connection with the object, but it's emotional, it's so powerful. So bhakti means love. And not only love, it means universal love. It means love of God. And that means to love everything. And the most generic definition of God would be consciousness, which nothing is disconnected, which is inclusive of everything, which doesn't have the defect of impersonality, which means it can reciprocate. So that's really what mantra is. And now there's another thing that's very powerful about meditating on mantra, because the most absorbing object of the senses is sound. That's why when you're sleeping, you don't have like a television that flicks on. You have the sound that goes off. It's very, very powerful. So therefore, it's very, very absorbing to chant these mantras. And it's reciprocating with you to enable you. That's why bhakti is also called the path of grace. Grace means undeserved kindness.
No, not really. I mean, tomorrow we're doing presentations, so each person has a sutra that they're supposed to study.
Okay. How much can you cover, right? I mean, you have to be practical. And so when you're meditating on that object, it's the path of grace, which means it can reciprocate with you and enable you. And this is what all the acharyas is saying. That's the great sutras. And what it says there is very interesting. And you'll see why people generally use mantra. Because it says when you perfect yoga, the first stage of samadhi, there's 7 stages of the perfectional stage. And samadhi begins when for an hour and a half you can meditate on an object without any other thought. Can you do that for 2 minutes? Okay, so that's the first stage. Then The next stage is you have to meditate on the object without any conception of the object. And then you have to meditate on the object by just seeing the core prakriti or material. And there's 7 states. And then you get to this ultimate state where you have only one thought left in your mind, which Professor Bryant, you studied with him. He's a friend of mine for like 40 years, actually. And we were in the same ashram in India in 1982. So we really go back a long time. And so in the Yoga Sutras, which he was kind enough to give me before he printed it, and it was really revelatory, his wonderful thing. He said there's a penultimate stage where the only thought you have in the mind left, and he called it the Terminator samskara, is you hate every other thought. You know, and that's not even a sampragata samadhi. So it's very, so therefore, without grace, without something giving you more than you can achieve, yoga or samadhi is practically impossible. Now, in the bhakti path, they do one other thing to increase that absorption. They put mantra in sound. Because sound has 2 elements. It has rag, or music, excuse me. But sound and music. It has rag, which is melody, and it has tal, which is rhythm. So what rag and tal do, it increases emotion. It's connected to very deep parts in the psyche. And so what happens is you're having this connection like the calf and the cow with the mantra, and as you focus more, the connection becomes deeper because there's reciprocation from the object in love, there's revelation from the object in love, there's more absorption, and then the emotion is increased by rag and tal. I hope that every single person here comes to the Mayapuri's kirtan concert that's here. You will be astounded. It's out of this world what these people are, devotionally and musically. So you'll see with the rhythm, and it increases the absorption. And then there's something else that's very powerful. It's a community meditation. And this is a very important point, that group bliss is higher than individual bliss. And why? Because what community means, kirtan creates community. And what community means is that that common interest becomes greater than individual interest. So when you not only have this meditational process and you put it within melody, and you put it within rhythm, and you do it in community, it helps you transcend the limited concept of I, which is the ego, the selfish conception of the self. The selfish conception of the self is I am the center. The spiritual conception of the self is I'm the servant of the center. So we're all moving to occupy the center. And therefore this world's about power. And what's power? Beauty industry, financial industry. It's about beauty, it's about money, it's about knowledge, it's about... Now, in the path of bhakti, it's very interesting, and I have to make this very, very clear. It's not against enjoyment. It's not a path of renunciation. It's a path of dedication. The difference is, and it's very subtle, is that your enjoyment, it means your family, your hobby. it's not the goal. The goal is to awaken that self to consciousness and pure love. But these things can make you, if it makes your mind peaceful, right? If it opens your heart. So it's not against it. For example, we don't live to eat, we eat to live. We don't live to enjoy, we enjoy to live. So it's a very, very balanced process. And therefore, unlike classical yoga, which is the path of just renunciation, if you talk about the path of yoga, to actually achieve that samadhi, you have to be alone in the Himalayas, not in the world, not with of it, etc. So bhakti is a path of dedication. It's not renouncing the world, it's changing your conception to it. And it's also a very practical path because it's how you exchange. For example, on the path of bhakti, we say that there are 6 loving exchanges. Dadati pritagrinati. In spiritual relationships, you give gifts, you accept gifts. Guyam ayachi prichati. You inquire in confidence from spiritual people. You explain yourself and share your realizations. And bhukte bojyate chaiva. We call it prasadam, spiritual food stuff, but you give food, you share food. And therefore, bhakti is not just a practice in the morning of meditation, but it's living your life in a spiritual way. Now, I'm going to explain now. So anyway, so this kirtan, the music, and also the dance, and the community. And I was describing this ego. Because why don't we feel that love? Why don't we feel that connection between us and everything? Because there's a cloud covering our consciousness called self-centeredness or ego. So now, I'm going to explain to you, and just an example. People ask me, well, how did you come to this spiritual path? And again, when I say that, I'm giving an example of my connection. I don't believe it's the only connection you can have. Again, our definition of religion is not a particular faith. It's the nature of the soul to be connected to something higher than itself, to be connected to God. And it can be done in many, many ways. So I'm going to explain how I came to Krishna consciousness, or I came to spiritual life. So I'm going to say it began in a previous life. And that's generally where it begins. And this is what happened. Because we believe in reincarnation. So there's a verse, Brahmanda Brahmate Konya Bhagavan Ji Guru Krishna Pasadi Pai Bhakti Lat. We're going from universe to universe, the species of life to species of life, until by the mercy of Guru, the teacher, and the mercy of God, Krishna. Again, that's also not sectarian. There's one God. It's like you have in different languages for the term for water, right? It's a different name, refers to the same object. So there's one divine. That you somehow get what's called the seed of devotion in your heart. Is unflinching trust in something sublime. Faith is what you trust will give you happiness. And spiritual faith is when you've experienced that connection with divine is the ultimate happiness. I don't care if you say, I'm a Bhakta, I'm a Krishna, I'm a Christian, I'm a Muslim, If you're on the social media 15 hours a day, that's your faith, not God. Because that's what you trust will give you happiness. The problem is when you have the wrong faith, it's the greatest tragedy. Because your trust is in something that won't elevate the heart and won't elevate the consciousness. That's the greatest tragedy. So this is how I think I came to spiritual life. In a previous life, after life, after life, after life, trying to be the center and having my faith, like I said at the very beginning, that I will be happy in the future when I can control and enjoy the world, and doing that life after life after life, and therefore, in that selfish conception of happiness, being covered from that spiritual connection and not feeling it. So I think what happened, and I think this is, I'm describing from our sacred text what happens. I'm supposed to teach the section of bhakti. Bhakti is devotion, so this is your theistic class. And it's not that I'm trying to convince you to be it. My duty is to explain what it is. Although it'll sound like that. But anyway. So here it is. You don't feel it. And then at a particular time, you say to yourself that there must be something higher than my own desires and my own authority. Because my authority has failed me. I've trusted myself, and I'm not as happy. It's not working. It's just not working. I've tried this, I've been in this species, I've been in that species. President of the United States, and this, that, and this country, and this nationality, and this, I control this, on this, so many things. But the soul is not being filled with devotion and love. And I think when you come to that point, and I think I came to that point, I must have said to myself, there must be something higher than my own authority and my own desires. And I think that's called humility. And I think what humility does, if this is like a cloud, it opens up a space in the cloud of ego covering your consciousness. And in our conception, the divine sees that and then arranges for you what's called sadhu sangha. Arranges for you the association of saintly people who have that feeling in the heart and communicate it to you. And then, when you experience that, whether it's by the association of a spiritual person, by whether it's a kirtan, a devotional experience, whether it's by some text, then there is a feeling, and if it is I think the person is William James, Variety of Religious Experiences. There's a feeling of sublimity. And I'm just explaining it from my own conception, and this is what a theistic conception means. There's a feeling of sublimity which becomes your faith, because it's so far beyond any try faith that this is the goal, that happiness doesn't come to the self, it radiates from the self. It's there within the self. And I have to uncover this and experience this. And then, if that's accompanied by a teaching and a philosophy that creates a reasonability of yourself and the world and how things work to keep yourself open to that experience, then you keep yourself on the faith. I'm also very close to Kasuba, also. He's also spent some time in India with me. We know each other at least 30 years also. So that's how one comes to a spiritual path. They begin to seek. And why do they seek? Because their knowledge and facilities and methodology is not succeeding in their goal. Aristotle said the goal is happiness. It's never the means for something else. You say money can't buy happiness. You never say happiness can't buy money. And Aristotle will say if someone challenges that and says, no, this is happiness, he said, no, that's just the means to happiness. So we're all seeking that. And the reason we're seeking it is because it's our nature. So that's basically how the spiritual processes work. And I'll just, because there's so much to cover, there's so many texts, there's so many books, there's so many stories. When Brid, I'll make a joke now, when Brid used to give me the whole day, I like this better, by the way, but when you used to give me the whole day, I even used to explain how important drama and poetry is to spiritual life. And I used to do a drama for the whole group. In Krishna Lila myself, that was composed by me and my friend to actually show you how those feelings can be communicated. But basically the idea is worship. And this is what worship means. Asana is a seat. Right? So when you have an asana, not just an exercise, but a seat, and you sit on that, and you give a time of your day for meditation and concentration, then that concentration and meditation on the divine and different aspects, it becomes upasana. Upasana is the Sanskrit word for worship. Upa means near. It's not just sitting on something, but bringing your consciousness to it. And there's different ways to do it. There's shravanam, hearing. There's so many beautiful philosophy and stories that communicate spiritual feelings very, very deeply. So there's shravanam, kirtanam. Kirtana means, kirtan means when the love in the heart is expressed by the discipline of music. But it also can be prayers and things like that. And just even this, what I'm doing now, is a practice of devotion. It's kirtanam. I'm speaking about spiritual time. So there's shravanam, kirtanam, Vishnu smaranam. There's meditation on the divine. Shravanam, kirtanam, Vishnu smaranam, padasevanam means very humble service. You can do just very, very humble service. Some people can just do some humble thing. You can be sweeping, you know, as a place for spiritual things. And vandanam, prayers, archanam, there's different rituals and worship. We don't say worship, we say seva. What does seva mean? Bhakti is best expressed in seva, which means loving responsiveness to the divine through the faculties of the mind, body, and words. So there's different practices and different processes, but the goal is there's this connection. And when you can focus in any way, then you'll start to feel this energy. And the goal of life is prema pumartha mahan. The greatest value is when this energy is fully released from your heart until it's all-consuming. And that's called prema. Prema, love of God. Twasmin parama prema rupa. In Naradi Bhakti Sutras it says, the highest love, parama, the supreme, prema, form of love, is universal love. When your love is for everything. So it comes out by this worship, by this meditation, in all these different ways, and by this humble service that people do. So there's many, many ways and aspects to fix the mind in such a way that this connection awakens. And that's what's called Bhakti Yoga. Bryn, how much time do I have? We'll do a little meditation. 27 minutes only. Okay, we will end with a bhakti meditation. I'm going to do the mantra I use and answer to your question. it's a Krishna mantra, but it's also very generic. Because what it means, oh God, oh energy of the divine, please engage me in service. And service doesn't mean just the activity of service, it means the consciousness of service. So this is how we're going to do it. If you can all sit up in a comfortable way. And the way I'm going to do this is, I'm going to show you, I'm going to chant the mantra once, explain to you how it should be chanted, then we'll do it together. Okay? And then I'll ask you to chant to yourself, and I'll show you another way. And what I'm going to do is, because remember, meditation means to fix your mind on the object. I'm going to try to activate your understanding in why you should do it, and your feelings for it. Okay? So sit up straight. Okay? And remember, what meditation means is focus on the object. The concentration is hearing meditation at the same time. So it'll be something like this. Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama. Okay, we'll all do it together. One other point I should mention is that attention is based on perception. You can focus your consciousness anywhere. In meditation, you try to focus it on the Agya Chakra. Like if I tell you now to meditate on your right toe, now you're conscious of it. Why? Because your consciousness was there. Your attention was there. So put your attention on the mantra and chant together. So take a deep breath. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Again. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Okay, now chant to yourself the mantra while I explain to you the next one. You know, one mystic yogi that I knew, who is also in the Bhakti tradition, he explained to me is that when you chant the mantra perfectly, you get the fruit of the mantra. So chanting a mantra perfectly is chanting and hearing every syllable. So this is a Bhakti mantra. It means the fruit of the mantra is that it draws devotion into your heart. So I'll show you how we're going to chant, one mantra at a time. You don't have to do pranayama with this. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Okay, together. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Chant to yourselves softly. Chant and hear every syllable. Chant just softly so you can hear a little bit. Chant and hear every syllable. Perfect your mantra. One mantra at a time. Other thoughts will go, but you don't follow those thoughts. Yes, very good. Just chant the mantra, every syllable. Very, very carefully. Keep on chanting, and I'll explain the next meditation. As I explained in the class, that the vacha, the object, God, and the vachika, the expression of the divine, it's not different. So when you chant the mantra and vibrate the mantra, it's actually direct communion with God. So one practitioner told me that if you vibrate the mantra and try to feel it in every pore of your body, you meditate on what you feel, and that's a connection with God. So I'll chant one mantra and then we can chant together. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Together. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, meditate what you feel. Every part of the body. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Very good. One chanting. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Every pore of your body, meditate what you feel. Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Okay, chant softly to yourself. Chant and hear every syllable. Feel the mantra. You go deeper and deeper into your meditation. The Yoga Sutras also says to japas, artha, bhavana, that the mantra is also a prayer. So you're praying for service, in that heart of service. So my teacher said you can listen to the sincerity of your chanting, your heart or your voice in the chanting. You go deeper and deeper in your meditation. So I'll chant the mantra once and then we'll chant together. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Together. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama sincerity of your chanting, and go deeper and deeper, praying for service. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama. Very good. Listen to your sincerity, your heart, your own voice and mantra. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama. Okay, chant to yourself softly. Chant and hear every syllable. Feel the mantra. Listen to the sincerity of your chanting. And go deeper and deeper into your meditation. The mantra is also Shakti, energy. Energy comes from a source, the service source. So the essence of all Shakti is to please, is love. So one great saint in Vrindavan where I live, he once gave me a secret. He said, when you chant this mantra, you chant every syllable very sweetly for the pleasure of God, for the pleasure of the universe, and therefore every syllable is like a flower petal you're offering with love. And you chant it very, very sweetly, understanding that the divine is hearing your love. So I'll chant the mantra and then we'll do it together. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, very sweetly, the pleasure of the divine, that they're hearing it. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, So chant to yourself very softly. Chant and hear every syllable, perfect your mantra. Vibrate the mantra. Feel it in every pore of your body. Listen to the sincerity of your chanting and go deeper. Chant every syllable sweetly. And go deeper and deeper into your meditation. So when you meditate in this way and you start to feel that communion and that devotion, you'll start feeling gratitude. You'll start feeling gratitude. So you can hear the mantra almost as saying, thank you, thank you. You can hear the mantra as an expression of gratitude. Because you're feeling that love and you're feeling that devotion. Now that gratitude will manifest in a desire to serve. And hear the mantra as a desire to give yourself fully. So feel as an energy that comes from your heart to your shoulders. Feel that energy of service coming down your arms to your hands. And feel that energy just bringing your hands together in front of your heart. Now this is a mudra. When your hands are folded in front of your heart. It's a mudra, and what it means is that these hands that have been used selfishly for myself are now for God and others. And you can keep on chanting. And now you can put your consciousness in your hands in the mood of giving yourself. And that mood of giving yourself, that's the real self. And see how different that is from the false self, from your desires and your ambitions. So what yoga means is to live in the self. So now I'd like you to be yogis for 2 minutes, and I'd like you to live in that feeling of that mantra and that giving of yourself without, beyond the mind. Okay, and this will be the perfection of yoga. Okay, keep the mantra going silently in that consciousness of giving yourself. Try to be yogis for 2 minutes. Live in the soul. This consciousness. And hear that mantra as an expression of service, giving yourself. See how peaceful that is, the real self, living in the soul. And how different that is from just the mind. You're doing so well. We'll do it for 1 more minute. Other thoughts may come, don't follow it. Just go deeper and deeper into the soul and hear the mantra. Because the mantra is the expression of the heart and the real soul. Now, in a couple of seconds, I'm going to ask you to open the eyes. Don't open your eyes now. What I want you to do when you open your eyes gradually is I want you to stay in the consciousness of the self. Don't go back to the ego and mind. And you'll feel the ego and mind trying to bring you to that consciousness. And you'll be seeing the world through this purified lens. Okay? Gradually open your eyes. Gradually, and just stay in that consciousness even with your eyes open. Just for a minute. Just stay in the same consciousness. Everyone can gradually open their eyes. Stay in the same consciousness. Okay? Everyone just gradually, please open your eyes now, but stay in the same consciousness. And you'll see the difference. This is what yoga means, to live in the soul. Please open your eyes now. Stay in the same consciousness. Okay, let me end the class now so you can all look up. So you see, we meditated for about 20, 25 minutes. But because of the connection with the mantra and the reciprocation with the mantra, it creates a nice absorption. Can anyone share with me? I have to explain too, there's no hard and fast rules. This is not like how you do it. I'm just sharing you with some of the things I do in my own meditation. But the main principle of bhakti is to remember the divine and not forget. And how you do it is very, very individualistic, even if in your meditation. So, can someone share to me which of the meditations were effective for them?
I felt just very soft to myself, like the very soft mantra was perfect.
Very effective.
Yeah.
You felt it was an effective meditation?
Yeah.
Good, thank you. Yes.
I thought the one where you said to focus on doing it perfectly was really effective.
I call that yogic meditation, because that really activates the intelligence. Anybody else like to share?
When my dreams.
What?
My dreams are very vivid, and I can watch it sometimes when I'm sleeping.
Your dreams?
And sometimes meditation happen like that. It's like I am watching myself.
You're watching yourself.
But it's very fugace.
Very what?
Okay.
Fugace.
Huh?
Fugace?
Fugace, it's fast.
Fascinating.
Yeah. But it's very close.
Well, what's dreaming is when some scars or the impressions of the mind are moving without the intelligence directing them. So whatever you put in is what will come out. There's also a subconscious there too. Bryn, what time is it? How did I do?
6:27.
Okay, I have 3 more minutes, and because I had so little time, I'm going to take every minute of it. Anybody else like to share? Yeah.
Going on, I couldn't say the mantra anymore. It was like hard to just open the mouth.
Was it in your mind though?
I don't know where I was. I mean, it was like I had those sounds around, but it was like more like this. And I was not able to.
Were you concentrated? Was it nice?
I was concentrated. It was yes. It was really it was really nice. I don't know if it's nice the word, but I mean it was not.
You were.
It was really yes. No, it was really soft. I don't know how to say this. It was really warm. It was not possible to. I was listening to your voice and I was like, okay, let's sing it one more time. Every syllable. What? It was difficult to follow you actually.
Okay, all right. Some benefit was there, so that's good. Thank you.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Does this practice create attachment?
What's that?
Does this practice create attachment?
Attachments.
Yeah, because I think you are relying on the practice to find your happiness.
Well,
so does it create an attachment?
Well, the process of bhakti is not against attachment. It's against selfishness. So you can love someone to please them and serve them. So that type of attachment is not against bhakti. There's 3 paths. There's the path of indulgence, where you just enjoy. There's a path of renunciation, where you just give up everything. There's a path of bhakti, where you dedicate things. So in bhakti, you don't have to give up your attachments. You just have to use them in a selfless and devotional way to serve God, which is inclusive of others. So whatever you do in bhakti, it's not, you can be an artist, you can be a dancer, you can be a businessman. You know, but okay, then there'll be ethical business, because it has to be productivity in a society, but you do it in a nice way. And you would give charity. You'd be purified, but you give charity. You'd be responsible. So bhakti is dedication. So you study Bhagavad Gita with Professor Bryant. And then the whole thing is, right, there was a war. And why was there a war? To show you that what spirituality is ultimately not the activity, but the consciousness in which it is done. And that's why that example is there. For example, again, if some people were being abused, some children and women were being abused, right? And I was a policeman, would I be spiritual to take action or to leave? Renunciation would be attachment, not by activity. So the whole thing of Bhagavad Gita was to show you that what real spirituality is not giving up your activities or giving up your attachments, but using them in the proper way for God. So this is not against attachment at all. We want to be attached. We feel that the nature of the soul is love. And what is love? It's attachment. But it's the greatest love. So we're not against attachment. It's just where you are attached and how you're attached. And the purity of your attachment. Like a mother's attached to the child. She'll give her life for the child. But that's love. Like if a mother's advanced, she's going to cut off her love for her child. Or if the mother's advanced, will she love her child and serve her child in a selfless way? So it's a different conception. And the whole thing with Bhagavad Gita is to clear up that basic misconception that everyone has about spirituality, that spirituality means renunciation. Renunciation could also be selfish. I can give up activities because I don't like to do them, even though I should do them. So the whole Bhagavad Gita is just meant to make that point. That real spirituality is devotion. And it's love. It's not renunciation. Renunciation can also be selfish. Does that help? Okay.
I
Yes.
have another question.
Yeah.
We went to the Bhakti Center for the Kirtan.
Yeah.
And so it's the same mantra, but the effect is I felt something really different. Is it this is the Kirtan like a meditation but more joyful or more?
Okay, there's two ways to meditate. There's japa and there's kirtan.
Okay.
Japa is meditating with yourself in a very intimate way, and kirtan is doing it with others. And kirtan is accompanying it with music. And so we do both. We do both. But there's special bliss when you do it with others. There's special bliss because you get the community feeling and you get to let go of the individual concept of the self, the selfish, the limited concept of the I. So yes, kirtan is our basic practice. We do both, and they're both important. But the last verse, or the next to last verse, one of our most important books is Kaler Doshe Nidhe Raja. This present age is an ocean of faults. Eko Asti Maha Guna. But there's one good quality. Kirtanad Eva Krishna. See, when you do this joyful singing, kirtan, mukta sangha, then very easily you can achieve that meditation. I don't have time to tell all my stories, but I was in India once, and I had to join this procession. And at the beginning, I thought, my God, when is it going to end? It started 5 hours late. It was in the middle of the summer. It was lit by these people holding these lamps on their heads. Every bug, billions were coming, and when is it going to end? When the kirtan began, got absorbed in the kirtan. It went for 7 or 8 hours. And you become absorbed. And when you become absorbed, then what happens is, when you become absorbed in the moment, time doesn't exist. Time exists in the past, time exists in the future. It doesn't exist now. So when you actually become absorbed, you can do meditation for a long period of time. And the best way is to do it by the kirtan. Okay, I'm merciful so I don't continue. That's the path of bhakti, and you've been working all day. If anyone is interested in that retreat, you can take one of these flyers, okay? And if you look up Bhakti Immersion on the YouTube, you'll see a beautiful video of what that retreat and what that place looks like with Bryn teaching yoga and our famous kirtans. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, I like this 2.5 hours. I think you got it all. Okay, thank you so much. Just want to see if all the names are clear. Anybody else in the back that didn't sign that would like to sign this? Okay.